Okay, what's good, everybody? I'm gonna jump right in today's session. I'm gonna talk about working with investors, continuing the series there. It seemed to go over pretty well the last video that I did on that, and so I'm gonna take it a little bit further. So I think this will be helpful for real estate agents, realtors, and even entrepreneurs and business owners as well, because there's a lot of correlation between real estate sales and investing and entrepreneurship and other types of businesses as well. All right, so a key thing that comes up for those that work with investors is how to preserve your time and your energy and even your resources and money more effectively, because if you've been in the space for any amount of time, especially for real estate agents, if you've worked for a brokerage or been around agents, there's kind of a thing with working with investors. A lot of times, I don't want to say it's frowned upon, but a lot of agents tend to kind of refrain from it or poo-poo on it for various reasons. And I want to kind of get into why I think that is. And it'll be helpful for real estate investors as well. And even if you're, a contractor or a property manager, or maybe a newer lender or some type of service provider for agents or investors, this will be helpful as well. So again, how can you effectively use your time and resources while growing your sales organization or perhaps growing your investment portfolio? Okay, so working with investors, I think of people that own property. It's not their primary residence, right? And then I also think of, capital investors who have money and they want to place that capital or invest that money via real estate somehow. And so, a few things come to mind. Having some type of agreement in writing is key. Okay, that's one of the very first things we get taught in the real estate agency classes. If you're gonna become a real estate agent or a realtor, that's one of the very first things that they teach you. And I had an instructor who early on, I had multiple classes with him over the years. He said, if it's not in writing, then you don't have anything. And so, you may not necessarily have to go that far, but having some type of understanding for sure and some type of agreement in place, whether you're representing the seller or representing the buyer or whatever it is that you're doing, and at the very least have a text message or an email stating out what the plan is. Okay, if you can't get anything in writing that's actually signed, at least have something that's written in some type of written form so that you know what the plan is, what the expectations are. So as time goes on, you can refer back to it and make sure that is on point, right? Another big thing that comes up for people that work with investors is proof of funds. Okay, so I also think besides proof of funds, you might look at proof of ownership or proof of something that they can perform, right? Because I mentioned it some time ago. I don't remember if it was on another video or if it was on social media. I had made a point that when you are working, in real estate, right, it really comes down to you're either working with someone that has a property, okay, or they have access to a property, or they may have a contract on a property, right? Or they are working with a property of some sort, or you're working with somebody that has money and they want to deploy that money. That's really it. Besides that, a lot of it is kind of fluff. I mean, we can tinker around with the CRM, we can get business cards, we can get a website, we can do professional headshots, we could do all the networking events in your community and wherever else you go. But at the end of the day, the main focus needs to be on serving someone who has an opportunity with a property, or they have capital and they want to do something with it. Okay, on the property side, it could be a wholesale transaction. It could be you serving them, helping them get it sold, helping them get it fixed, helping them get money on it, loan money or borrow money against it, right? And then on the capital side, the two big things I think of, right, is I'm going to help somebody with money to either loan that money against real estate to another property owner or another investor, right? Or I'm going to help that person with money to invest in real estate. It could be a partnership. It could be me, again, representing that individual or couple or business to acquire real estate. That's really it. So I say all this because, early on, I've been in the game for a while, and early on, if you're newer and you're looking to close that first deal or make money, you're gonna probably take what you can get, right? Because you need the experience and you need the money, okay? But as you grow your enterprise and you grow your network and your confidence increases, and maybe even you're growing your portfolio or you're doing loans, and so you're starting to get more money passively, your standards shift and your mindset shifts. And I don't necessarily want to say that you kind of get lazy, but sometimes we do. I get it. When, as I was growing my portfolio, and I've seen it with other investors, you start getting money each month from a deal that you did a year ago or 6 months ago or 7 years ago, and you build that up, you're not necessarily going to be as excited about knocking on doors or doing cold calling or driving for dollars. So you then have to decide what's going to be something that I can do as an entrepreneur or a salesperson or investor that is going to help me grow to where I want to be. And you start to set different goals and benchmarks, right? And at the same time, how can it be rewarding and fulfilling, okay? And you can still bring value to your customers and clients in the community and so forth. Because after a while, again, like I said, you close some bigger deals and you're starting to get passive income and you got referral relationships. It becomes a little bit more challenging to get out there like you were before. So again, how you effectively use your time and resources. Okay, cool. You could start to hire people to assist with certain things, or you can start to, purchase from wholesalers, right? Or you can, bring on an assistant, or you could partner with someone else who has a little bit more or quite a bit more money than you, and then you can go attack and operate in a different manner, because it after a while it can be very challenging to get out and still make things happen. All right, so I brought some notes, and I talk to individuals, people in the real estate space every single week, and I was talking with a buddy of mine yesterday for over an hour. And it was a good conversation. It was definitely refreshing. But at the same time, after the conversation ended, I was kind of like, dang, I had to think about my goals again and where I want to be in 6 months, 12 months, because it's easy to get into the comparison mode. And he brought up how somebody did X amount of deals last year and they're doing this, and that. And I was telling my pops shortly after that, we've been in the game for a while. My parents been doing real estate for over 30 years. I grew up in the industry. I've been at it for over 14 years now. And I don't want to say that the thrill lessens, but you start to see things as you're in it for a while. You start to see things as they really are. And doing, 50 to 100 deals in a year may sound really cool, or flipping or rehabbing 5 to 10 houses or properties at one time may seem really cool until you've done that once or twice and you've worked with other investors who have done that over and over again, and you start to see like the lifestyle. So beyond the money, right? I think about the fulfillment and it being rewarding what we do. I mentioned that earlier. Getting to a point is at least one of my goals. And I hear Robert Kiyosaki talk about it frequently. He talks about the rich and the wealthy. He talks about the cash flow quadrant. And there's a point that he made, and he makes it regularly, is that rich people or wealthy people, they get to a point where they no longer work for money. Okay, I want y'all to think about that. And it's definitely on my radar. It's something that I think about regularly, is like, okay, I want to get to a point where I'm working because I want to learn, or because I want to help someone else out, or it's a cool opportunity, not necessarily because I have to, because I need to pay rent or I need to close a deal within the next, 30 days in order to, make ends meet or whatever. Is getting to the point where we no longer have to work for money. How amazing is that? And real estate is an amazing way to do it. And it's only one way to do it. The fact of the matter is there have been more people who've done well with the stock market. And that's something else that I've been looking at too lately, as the market has changed and things have shifted, and a lot of real estate practitioners, from the realtors to the lenders, to the wholesalers, to the private money lenders, some of them got out of business and others have really had to pull back. And it's not necessarily by choice, it's because markets change over time. And so I encourage y'all to really figure out your why, right? And figure out how you want to operate and how you want to feel running your business and growing your portfolio without being distracted, by what everybody else is doing, and, trying to hit something that, sounds cool, but it's just going to have you stressed out every single day, and you're working 70 hours a week and you're thinking like, how did I get to this point? But getting to the point where you can do work again that's rewarding and fulfilling, and you don't necessarily have to work for money, and you can maybe choose the hours and people that you want to work with. You could be more selective about it, and you could get to the point where you're booked and busy, blessed and not burdened, is how I see it. And so I'm gonna, wrap it up there and keep it somewhat short, and encourage y'all to think about, honoring your boundaries, practicing good self-care. That's one other thing that I wanted to mention too, and it all kind of ties in together. As you're in sales, as you're in business, there's a lot of pressure, and there's a couple other things I could say. I want you to think also about the people that you work with, the opportunities that you take on, because, there's another myth that I want to bust, right? There's talk of, when you do a small deal, right? It's the same process, or maybe even the same document or similar paperwork as if you are doing a large deal. But I can tell you, when I've done lots of $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 sales, meaning that the actual property in Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City sold for $5,000 to $30,000, right? And I've done a $2.8 or $2.6 million deal. I've done a $500,000 deal and some other stuff too. Yeah, it's the same contract essentially, but the pressure was so much more and the stress was so much more on the biggest deal that I ever closed, right? Than that $5,000 deal that I helped someone buy and it had title issues. I wasn't necessarily sweating so much about that one. So again, I want y'all to think about, the opportunities that you take on, how you want to roll, how and again, it's still cool, like it's fun. Go do 100 deals in a year and go do $10 million deals or $2 million deals and see what it's really like. But again, figure out your why, figure out, why you're grinding so hard, right? And create the business that serves you, right? And create the enterprise that allows you to live and be happy and healthy and peaceful. All right, so that's it for today. I know this one was a little bit different, but I know that it's going to resonate with some people. It's been on my heart for the last couple of years for sure, because I've gone from, starting 16 different businesses in real estate to just a couple years ago having 6 different direct partners and helping 5, 6, 7 investors go through the entire investment process between 21 and 2023, and I was stressed out. And I don't really think I made that much money, as much money. I think, in 2024 or 2023, I think I had a record year as far as income, not as much volume. I think I closed over 40 transactions. And then that was 2023. In 2024, I closed 23 transactions, and I felt a lot better. I was a lot more at ease. I felt more peaceful, and I was happier doing that process too. So hopefully, again, think about this stuff. Feel free to reach out. Again, we're here in the Kansas City market, making it happen, working with investors, working with everyday home buyers and home sellers as well. So if you want to know more, you know how to reach me. Thanks for tuning in. All right, peace, y'all.